Thanks. So hi, Quintin Rossi. Welcome, Quintin, to our interview, our show, going above and beyond. So it's just highlighting inspirational stories and helping getting key learnings from people out there that are acting in the moment. So Quintin's the CEO of... Sorry.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So Quintin's the CEO of Spear. It's a listed property REIT. Got many properties in Cape Town. We'd love to hear a little bit about that, but today really is about what you're doing at your Double Bay Hilton Hotel and how you're helping people out in the community there. So Quintin, maybe just tell me just about you and your family. How's it going and your employees in the lockdown at the moment?
Yeah, so not Cape Town born and bred, but from a small town called Rustenburg. Moved to Cape Town 1999. I'm married to an amazing wife called Mia, and I've got two superb daughters, Eva and Ella Rose. Obviously, it's been quite a tough environment to navigate. As a business person, I've never been one to rest on my laurels. So to go from being a very active manager of our assets on every level, from me to the actual property managers, for us to go into a state of lockdown was quite a challenge.
Sure.
But business still, in certain regards, has to continue, and in certain regards, business couldn't continue, which is obviously where we had to take the decision to close down temporarily both of our hotels, and of which on the DoubleTree, we have 160 staff,
Sure.
Which we directly employ. And I set out on a mission with our hotel asset manager and some of my other executive team members to try and find a way where we could save these jobs. Unfortunately, we don't have bucket loads of money, and we also have to be faithful stewards of what we've been given in terms of our finances. So we had to obviously go through the kind of UIF and TERS process, but try and put some funds aside to try and keep the proverbial wolf from the door for some of those staff for as long as we possibly could, without running into kind of liquidity constraints on the Spear side. So it's been a very difficult time, and one thing that's kind of come to this process is that there are people that are way worse off than us. We have the benefit of being in a home, having access to financial resources to buy food, and having people around us that can support us, where many of those most vulnerable and living on very, very little bits of income don't have that. And that was something for me that I thought would be something to address. And I think the reality is that as this lockdown progresses and more people are unable to earn any income, either through a no work no pay policy or through retrenchments, etc., you were going to start to see the rising risk of social unrest, which was a concern for me, because the concern was probably multiple areas. One being, it placed our assets at risk of just being looted. It placed our people at risk, being harmed in the process. And invariably, it placed our own homes at risk, because once the shopping centers and other places had been targeted, the reality was that, where was the food going to be? It was going to be in our homes. And that kind of prompted me into action, to reach out to some of our shareholders and some of our fellow executives to say, guys, we have to actually be part of the solution. We can't just sit by the side and make, be kind of Facebook commentators. We actually have to kind of, put our shoulder to the wheel. Made a couple of calls on a Sunday morning, got overwhelming support, and we managed to raise about 300,000 Rand within a couple of hours. Wow. And that really was the start. The reality was that we had all the tools to actually initiate a feeding program on the hotel. We had an empty kitchen, and we had pots and pans, and all we needed was the other side of the equation, which was the ingredients. That quite quickly became resolved in terms of the ingredients and the finances. And then we were able to screen staff and make sure that they were clear and COVID negative, and bring them back to the hotel. We're actually housing them at the hotel at the moment to ensure that the isolation angle is covered. And start, for them also, it's important to have a sense of purpose and to feel like they're making a contribution. So with time together, and another NGO called Salt River Can, and they actually come and collect the meals at the hotel in the afternoon, and then they do the distribution on our behalf. Obviously, we've gone with them a couple of times to be part of that distribution, and it's actually quite it really does pull on the heartstrings, because you see the massive need that's out there. It's just incredible. And so that's the one thing that we have done in terms of partnerships, in terms of how we've managed our staff to the best of our abilities through this, and also looking for small pivots here and there, trying to see how we can generate revenue. Now with level 4, we can do food deliveries. So we are our chef has been very proactive together with our hotel asset manager, Francois Stein, to try and put some menus together to also try and generate some revenue through that. The property that where the Upper East Side property where the Doubletree by Hilton is located has about 240 sectional title residential units that are not part of the Spear holdings. So, if we can get an 80% hit rate on doing deliveries, we can keep people busy and start generating some level of revenue, far from what we'd like in terms of normality, but still trying to achieve that outcome. And I think, one of the things that I've said before is that we've had many good years as a business, and I do believe that our future will be better than our past. But right now we're in a very difficult situation, and how we respond to this really will be how we set a trajectory for the years ahead. And it's important for companies that can make a difference, by actually starting to bake these social responsibility initiatives into their operating model. So for as long as we possibly can, even post the COVID lockdown ending or level 1 being achieved, we're going to do what we can to try and maintain a level of a feeding project, because the need won't go away. We're going to be facing a massive spike in unemployment. We're going to be facing a massive spike in potential new births happening in the country, because people have been at home for quite a while, which means that mothers will be undernourished and could lead to other health issues. So, so as a business, we've got to try and find ways to also make a contribution that exceeds a net operating income kind of consideration, but actually looks at a broader value that you create as a business. And I think it's been important for our staff also that are not involved in the hotel to actually be involved in the actual physical preparation, cutting the onions, cutting the potatoes, cooking the butternut, because that's also their way of actually having a stakeholder kind of role that they can play. And quite frankly, it costs us 20 Rand a meal. So for 20 Rand, you can, as an individual, and I'm reminded of what Mother Teresa said, that if you can't feed 100 people, start by feeding one person. 100%. And those are one of the things that I've learned out of this process, is that you can still run a good business and be a prudent manager of your capital and your assets, but you can also still have compassion, and you can also operate in a space where, being generous is a privilege. And I look at people that I look up to, my pastor, his wife, and they always tell us that generosity really is our privilege, and that the world of the generous does get larger and larger. And as I've said, we've had many good years. And I also believe that we could just turn a blind eye and say, it's not really our problem, the hotel's closed, we're going to retrench all the staff, etc., etc. But there's such a cascading effect by taking that approach. It's there's a massive short-term impact in those people are breadwinners, and what have you done actually? And I want to know that in this environment we're in, I haven't had I want to walk away and say, listen, I didn't just have a plan A and a plan B. I wanted to walk away and say I've had a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And even though the first 5 didn't work, at least we found something that could kind of instill some level of kind of validation to the staff, even though it's not necessarily going to keep the wolf from the door for a long time, but it's done something for them, and it's done something for me as well, where you feel, you do in this process, look for the good in people. And, it's even us as rental property owners, we've had our own battles to fight with our tenants, and, trying to also understand how they're managing this crisis has also been tough, because as every single one of our tenants are invested in their own business.
Well, it's a really tough road we're on. I mean, but I mean, you're making the most of it. I mean, you're really pulling out all stops, being innovative, involving your staff. I mean, doing really, it's unbelievable what you've done. So to date, you've distributed, I understand, 15,000 meals already. Is that correct?
So we've actually that number's gone up slightly overnight. So we've now reached almost 17,000 meals.
Wow. Wow.
And we're on our way to get to the 50,000 meals, which I'm more than confident that we will get to. So yeah, it's just a process of the need is greater than what we can supply, 100%. And yeah,
I know it's going to be endless. I mean, how do you decide? You said you partnered with some local NGOs or local partnerships, but how do they decide who they're delivering the meals? Do you deliver to their home? Is it a central? How does it actually logistically must be very tough? Who gets what, and how does that work?
Yeah, so the logistics actually, we basically preparing a warm meal. So we want to put a warm meal in a cooked warm meal in someone's hands. We have to kind of look at the Salt River, Woodstock, Cape Town city periphery as the place to do that. So as I mentioned, Salt River and Cape Town together. We have also offered assistance to the St. John's Hospital Group, who are based in Woodstock, and they have about 65 home-based care elderly individuals that they also provide medical services to. And I know I built a relationship with the executive of the St. John's Hospital Group, and I just reached out to them and said, listen, I'm sure you guys are overwhelmed with what's happening at the moment, but we know that you guys are doing amazing work in the Woodstock Salt River area, and we are making these meals. And please, if there's a need from an elderly couple or from a needy family, please let me know. And within a day or two, we had 65 people on a list that, and then St. John's would manage the logistics, where they would then send one of their ambulances to come and pick up the meals for those needy people. So quite frankly, I've looked at this entire process from start to implementation, from start to fundraising to implementation to logistics. And it's actually been an incredible fluid process. So we haven't hit one snag. We got our essential services certificate within minutes. We got our permits within minutes. We got all the right packaging. We got all the right people involved. And yeah, it just shows that, that there's a lot of good people out there, and a lot of good comes from doing good.
Amazing. I mean, you had the tools, you used them. I mean, as you said, you were given these tools and you're actually using them. And that's unbelievable, commendable. And things happen, when you start making things happen, things fall into place. I mean, 100%. You said one of your key learnings is that to incorporate this charity and in your going forward in your business, to make it an active and really active part of your business going forward. Would that be, say, your biggest learning or your biggest thing that you can take away from this? So far, I'm sure there are going to be more learnings along the way.
Yeah, and listen, I think the one thing that we've always practiced is to be a very hands-on owner of a business. And one thing that I've learned out of this is that that you can't overly communicate with your staff during this time. That's been a key learning for me. The other key learning for me was that my staff don't want to be motivated during this time. They want to be led. And that for me was also critical, to tell them, listen, guys, to come in here like a cheerleader with pom-poms and say, we're going to do this, we're going to climb this mountain. That's not what they want. They want to be led, and they want you to make decisions. And the third thing also was perspective, letting them actually know that I'm also pretty stressed out, and letting them know that, every one of us have got certain degrees of discomfort right now. And my main focus in the short term was to ensure the survival of our business and to ensure that their survival as an operating business. And then the fourth thing was, to be generous and to realize that even though most likely I will never directly meet any of the people that we have provided meals for, that their lives have been changed regardless, in a sense that every night so far for about 3 weeks, they've had a meal in their tummy. And that for me amazing. Is, that does really kind of bring it to a kind of full circle of it's worth every minute of effort that we put into this.
Jeez, Quintin, that's really, it's unbelievable. I mean, I've lost for words, but it's just, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of grateful people out there really for your actions. Sure. Just tell me, people like me sitting at home, what could we do? What could we, I mean, to help you with your efforts? You know, if there are other hotels out there, what would you guard them? What can we practically do? Donate money, donate resources. What practically would you suggest to anyone out there?
Yeah, so I think anybody can. We have an opportunity to donate funds, so you can visit the DoubleTree by Hilton Cape Town Facebook page, and just send a direct message to Lindsay or Francois on that Facebook page, or you can find me on LinkedIn and you can just direct message me on LinkedIn, or they can make contact with you and you can reach out to me. But also, you know, like to mention, you know, a company like McDonald's South Africa. McDonald's South Africa is one of our tenants in our portfolio, and about a couple of like last week they gave me a call and said, you know, we've got about 4,000 burger buns and about 3,000 burger patties and about 5 kilograms of chicken nuggets we need to, you know, we need to get rid of before it goes off. And the last thing we want is for it to go off, because we know the need is out there to feed people. Please, can you send a team to come and pick it up? And that was, you know, that was a result of making another 1,400 meals last night.
Wow.
So if anybody has, you know, potatoes, tomatoes, you know, any, you know, maize meal, etc., that's obviously fantastic. You know, a good carb, a good veg, and a protein. We do operate in the area that we are currently making meals for is predominantly a halal area. So we stick to chicken as opposed to beef and fish. So it's either chicken-based meal or a vegetable-based meal. Depends on you know what the chef has prepared on the menu. So yeah, you can either get involved through a financial donation, or you can get involved through a donation of food resources.
Great, thanks for that. Thanks very much, Quintin. Just one final question. Thanks for your time, really, Quintin. It's a difficult question, but if you had a magic wand and you could say we're in level 4 now, what would one thing you'd want to change, you know, to make people's lives easier? What in your top of your head do you think you'd want to see a change made in level 4 if you could make that change?
I'd take it to level 1 straight away.
That's like the genie asking the genie for ultimate wishes.
You gave me a 1. No, I think there's the challenge with some of the logical decisions on level 4 restrictions is that there's it's almost like a web effect. So, you know, for me, I look at the call center business as an example. You know, the motor-related retail operators that do car services, they should be able to service their cars, because that then activates the retail component. It activates the call center component as well, because then you've got call center companies that specifically operate to phone people about how well their service experience was for their vehicle. So you're activating 2 parts of the economy.
Yeah.
You know, the second would be, you know, things like, you know, the South African Revenue Service today reported a 208 billion rand under recovery of taxes for April. You know, I'm not a smoker, but, you know, 1.5 billion of that loss is effectively cigarettes. And, you know, if it can, you know, I would basically adopt a quasi-Sweden, quasi-United States approach, to be honest, where, you know, certain, of course, in a disaster environment, certain of your liberties you give up because it's for the greater good. But a draconian style kind of lockdown is not going to get us anywhere. And quite frankly, you know, there's a whole list of things that I think are irrational, but, you know, let people also, you know, if you want to get the schools to go back on the 1st of June, but people can't go back to work to restart the economy within certain levels, it doesn't really make sense to me. So there's a lot of things that, you know, that we kind of need to operate in, much to our disagreement. But I do also believe that the first lockdown initiated by President Cyril Ramaphosa was the right decision for the country.
Yeah.
And I think the way that he led us through that was the right leadership decision for the country. the second lockdown, I have my own opinion about, and I think that the ultimate concern for me is that the supposed cure is going to actually be more deadly than the disease itself, as we see a massive spike in unemployment and a massive spike in people not being fed and not being able to work. So I think, it's a very difficult decision to just iron out one, but that's my opinion. I probably would open up hotels a lot sooner than level 2. I would probably try and see if we can create some sort of like a local travel environment. Because if you think about it, the Western Cape in particular, about 35% of our GDP is made up of tourism, which is travel, services, restaurants, hotels, etc., which is a massive impact. And also the sale of alcohol, I'm not a big drinker myself, but again, there's jobs that are on the line, there's tax, there's the guys that are printing the labels, the guys that are supplying the corks, the guys that are storing the glass bottles, etc., that actually aren't able to,
Yeah. No, there's a snowball effect in everything. I mean, you can see in the travel and leisure and hotel. I mean, I just saw Hertz in the US has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I mean, the snowball effect is just unbelievably endless. I mean, the car manufacturers, I mean, it's just, as you say, it's just, hopefully, look, as one of my other people that I interviewed the other day, he said, I mean, the only way we can really bond together and get it together and work together, and together we can get through this. I mean, and that's exactly where you're leading. You're leading from the front. As you said, you're not doing the rah-rah campaigns, you're actually leading, you're doing stuff. And really, that's the way to go. I mean, we're all behind you. And,
thank you.
And we'll support you as much as we can. And we look to catch up. Hopefully, this thing won't last too much longer. And then we can catch up afterwards and look back and say, well, we did the right things and we got this
100%.
together.
No,
Great.
100%.
Thanks for your time, Quintin. I really appreciate it.
Right.
And all the
thank
best.
You so much.
All the best.
Same to you. And I think it's just important that as we kind of traverse out of this absolute disaster, that we've dubbed our campaign the Love One Another campaign, and that really is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have tolerance. We're going to have compassion, and also let common sense prevail. So both commercially and emotionally.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Well, thanks very much, and we'll catch up with you soon. Hopefully, I'll come past you. I've been in your hotel many times, and please God,
awesome.
I'll be there soon
thanks
again.
For the support. Yeah, hopefully again soon.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Take care.
Take care, Quintin. Cheers.
Bye bye.